Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Vahan Yepremyan, the managing partner of Yepremyan Law Firm, a provider of business, corporate, immigration, and personal injury legal services. Welcome to the call, Vahan.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you for having me on.
Vahan, you grew your company's revenue from $1.6 million in 2014 to $3.7 million in 2017, a 72% increase, and in 2018, you hit over $3 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Yes, of course. So we are a boutique law firm located in Los Angeles. We have two locations, one in Sherman Oaks area and one in Glendale. We specialize in business corporate law, representing entrepreneurs and ventures from pre-launch startup phase to pre-IPO, doing all transactional work from drafting contracts, negotiations, forming entities, corporations, LLCs, buy and sell agreements, licensing, anything to do with business and different stages that businesses go through. We also, in light of that, provide immigration services, mostly business related, investor visas, employee visas, employment visas, and such. We also have a small practice of personal injury as well. We've been in business for 20 plus years. Founded originally in Glendale and then grew from there. And as you could tell, keep growing.
All right, fantastic. Now, how would you say you differ from the other law firms that are out there?
Let's, for example, take my main practice of business and entrepreneur, representing businesses and entrepreneurs. One of the distinguishing factors, I think, and that gives me an edge is that I myself am an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a film company. I have a real estate development company and a few other ventures. Over the last 20 years, I've had more than a dozen different companies. Some have done well, some have done average, and some have failed. So I understand the entrepreneurial process and the entrepreneurial journey. I understand the experience and what they're going through and what they're dealing with. And so when I am sitting across from a client, whether it's a new startup, whether they have an investor or it's a self-finance kind of shoestring budget, whether it's, a company that's based on, out of somebody's garage or has a big facility, chances are I've gone through it myself as well. And so I understand their struggles, I understand their priorities, I understand their challenges. And so it's, I come from not only from just a purely legal perspective, but understanding the context within which they're operating. I've also gone back to business school. Besides a program at Harvard Business School, HXP program, I've also done a postgraduate diploma at Cambridge University Business School in UK. So I understand the business aspect of it as well. And so as we structure and negotiate or consult on contracts, we don't just look at the legal aspect of it. We look at it as business-wise. Does this make sense? What is this company going in 3 or 5 years? What is their exit strategy? How are they plan to scale? And it really affects the type of legal services that are provided. And sometimes people come in and say, I want this kind of agreement. Before we start actually drafting this agreement, I want to understand what the purpose of this is and what's the outcome they're looking for. And probably about 20-25% of the time, they actually need something different than what they think they do. And so having that background and both academic and actual practical experience of being an entrepreneur just gives me a better appreciation of both their journey and what it takes to build a successful company.
Okay. Now, how about how you differ on the other parts of your practice, the immigration? Immigration you said was related to corporate. Now, do you do like individual immigration as well?
Yes, we do individual immigrations as well. I myself am an immigrant. I moved to the United States when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And again, I understand the the challenges and the experience and the journey of coming from another country and adjusting to a whole new life in the United States.
Right.
You know, a country of opportunity, a country of plenty, but also, you know, a country that is drastically different from most other places where people come from,
Right.
including me. I grew up in former Soviet Union, and the contrast couldn't have been bigger than you know, and this is before the internet. This is before anything accessible to us back there behind the Iron Curtain of seeing how life is here. And so the very first experience of life in the US for me was when I landed at LAX. And so I understand, you know, I didn't speak any English. I didn't know, you know, I didn't have any friends here. I didn't have, you know, and so I appreciate that as well. And so understanding what it takes and helping them plan it and help, you know, giving them advice on certain things on how they should be handled, you know, family and, you know, choosing where and how, and, you know, it just helps, you know, I one of my, you know, main things with clients is just delivering more value than what we charge for, giving them more than what they expect. And so I look at my business clients or immigration clients as if it's my business, or if it's me or a close family member that's going through it, and how would I act and how would I handle the situation, and that's how I do it. And you know, most of our growth in the recent years have come not from just continuing to get new clients, but really focusing on our existing clients and helping them grow and growing with them.
Right. Now, how about on the personal injury side? How are you different from the other personal injury lawyers out there?
Right. For a lot of firms out there, they have kind of, for lack of a better word, like a conveyor belt approach. For us, we understand that each person is going through a set of challenges when they're involved in an accident or they're injured, and challenges with transportation, challenges to being able to work because of physical injury, challenges with, you know, income, you know, if they have to miss work. And so us being able to focus on them and what their needs are rather than what we need from them to handle the case makes all the difference. And you know, we have my job with my firm and my employees is, you know, I take care of my employees, and their job is to take care of our clients. And so when I take all the kind of obstacles and challenges away from my employees so that they can truly really focus on our clients and understand that each client is unique, each file is unique, you know, not only with the facts and type of injuries, but, you know, family situation, work situation, financial situation. And so really understanding what their needs are and how we can best meet them. And also managing their expectation and explaining to them the process. You know, a lot of people are coming into the law firm, they feel overwhelmed. You know, a lot of lawyers use a lot of technical terms and legalese, and, you know, and lose the client within the first couple of minutes. What we do is, one is we sit down and really explain to them what their rights are, what they're entitled to, what we could do for them, and then kind of explain the whole process that it's going to take from start to end for them to receive what, you know, what they're entitled to. And then as we start the process, keep them informed and keep them posted on what's going on progress, rather than kind of just signing up and then kind of forgetting about them and just doing the work. Because you have to realize they want to know what's going on, and they're sitting at home and they're anxious and they're, you know, still in pain, and, you know, and so keeping them informed, keeping them in the loop, and as well as making sure that they understand what's being done and why makes a big difference. And it takes a lot of that anxiety that comes from not knowing. It comes from dealing with you know, and being in a field where they're usually not accustomed to being, you know, lawyers, law offices, and all that stuff. It just unnecessary stress that we try to take off of their plate.
Now, what's your thinking behind doing a pretty wide array of services? Why not just focus on on business and corporate law and leave it at that and not deal with immigration and personal injury?
This happened organically, and it is my main focus is my clients, business clients and entrepreneurs and startups. That's my passion. That's what I love to do. And being an entrepreneur, I just, I think any country, any healthy economy needs a healthy entrepreneurial sector, especially coming from where I came from, Soviet Union, where the whole country, whole system collapsed due to non-existence of entrepreneurship in that country. Everything was government owned, everything was subsidized, every single person in that country worked for the government and got paychecks from the government. There was no incentive, there is no innovation, there is no competition. And in fact, if you're being entrepreneurial, you get thrown in jail.
Sure.
And
so why not just focus on that area,
right?
And not focus on the others?
Right. And so I started with that, and I was focusing with my business clients. It happened that a lot of my business clients, maybe about 35-40% of my clients, are international companies, international citizens who do business in US. And as that comes up, and the challenges of being here to help run the company, or hiring international staff or experts to come in and help them, the challenge came up of, okay, we need some business immigration assistance. Initially, I was outsourcing them, but again, it was hard to find a firm that was taking the same approach we were taking with our business approach, and I was getting a lot of feedback from them saying, well, why can't you handle it? We trust you, and we want to work with you. And so gradually and organically, I brought in experts and attorneys who specialized in that, and we started working and doing this in-house. And then personal injury kind of also developed from our existing clients who, I had several clients who had transportation companies and doing things in different fields where accidents happen. And so again, they'd come to me and I'd refer them out, and then eventually there was enough business for me that it didn't make sense to outsource it. Most of my time is spent handling business clients. I have a number of attorneys that I manage that handle day-to-day dealing with insurance companies with personal injuries. Obviously, I'm involved in negotiation and settlement of those cases and review on a weekly basis. But again, these two additional sections kind of came in organically, and later on, as I was focusing on mostly kind of just handling my business clients. And I think part of it was because my approach is, my job as an attorney for these business clients is to make their life easier, to take whatever they don't want to deal with off their plate so they can focus on growing their business, growing their sales, developing their products, raising money, whatever they're doing in the day-to-day operation, and take the other pressures off of whether they need to obtain certain permits or licenses, whether they need to negotiate a certain deal, whether they need to hire a specialist, maybe it's a restaurant and they want to bring in a French chef from France, or, it's a school, athletic school, and they're bringing in an Olympic champion from overseas again. And so we'd go in and help them with that,
Right.
And so, just, I guess, by necessity, we developed those areas of practice as well.
So when you say you bring it in-house, from a law firm perspective, does that simply mean you just hire a new lawyer who's a specialist in that area, and then instead of farming it out, you now just let your lawyer that you just hired take care of those things?
Yes. So it becomes our firm that gets retained for those services, and we are responsible for it, and we get paid and we deliver the services, rather than saying, you know what, I know these guys, they're across the street or across the city, across town, and you can go see them and then deal with them. Okay. A lot of clients, once they develop, you develop certain trust, and relationship, and they've learned where you are and how you work, they're very resistant to go and deal with other attorneys. You know, in fact, a pretty sizable group of my clients, I serve as quote unquote in-house counsel capacity, where I handle a lot of the stuff that they don't want to handle, and even things that I don't specialize in, that I outsource and refer out. They don't want to deal with it, so I deal with it. For example, patents and trademarks. I don't do patents. I don't do intellectual property at all. But they don't want to deal with it. They don't know anything about it. They don't want to deal with another firm that's going to be asking them for documents they don't even know how to get and all that stuff. And so what they say is, hey, you know, you handle it. You let us know how much they want, and maybe negotiate the rates with them, and then stay on top of them, make sure it gets done. And so I do have a group of different associate attorneys out there that we use for areas that we don't handle, and areas that the clients don't want to, because otherwise they find themselves dealing with 3-4 different law firms, CPAs, bookkeepers, and everything else, and have no time running and developing and growing their business. So my job is to take all that stuff off their plate and let them focus on growing their business.
Right. Now, like say you were outsourcing a lot of trademark work, as an example. Yes. How much work would you need to be outsourcing for you to say, oh, maybe I should bring this in-house? Like, is the amount of work equivalent to a full-time lawyer? And then you say, yeah, it seems like it makes more sense for me to just bring it on in-house.
Right. Financially, that would probably make sense, except at some point you have to draw the line, because when you start doing too many things and wearing too many hats, my strengths are negotiating and making deals, drafting contracts, putting the right structure together for a startup. As they're scaling, putting together licensing agreements, and so I focus on my strengths. And so, yes, sure, I can bring in an intellectual property attorney. I can bring in a tax advisor, especially for some of my international clients. I could bring in advisors that could advise on international taxation law and everything else. And as far as the client's concerned, for their convenience, we do that because they deal with me and I deal with everybody else. So for client, they get the convenience and the ease of just dealing with one firm. For me to bring in every different expert, because look, there's different patents, so I'd have to bring in a patent attorney and a trademark attorney and a copyright attorney. And then even within patent attorneys, there is, is this a chemical, is it a design patent, or is it some kind of a formula you're trying to, so there's different specialties. And so I'd rather find the best in the field for my clients, negotiate the best deals and terms. And a lot of times it ends up being cheaper for me to do it than if they were to go straight to those attorneys, because I negotiate with these attorneys and say, look, your job's going to be easier because you don't have to deal with a client and explain to them exactly what you need and how you need it, and then chase them down and say, I know exactly what you need, and you'll have it tomorrow. As soon as we sign the retainer, you'll get. So you're going to spend about 25% less time on this file and less time meeting and explaining and everything else. I do have the client as part of the process, the initial consultation and understanding and explaining what they want and need. Once that's done, when it comes to getting the right documents, right paperwork to the service providers, the client's done. I have everything. We're paperless office. Everything's on the cloud, obviously backed up few times over, but it's easy for me to put them together and send them over. And so because of that, we get some discounts, which we pass on to clients.
Right. Now, how do you what's the tipping point when you decide to bring it in-house?
I think for me, it would be not so much financial, but it would be the quality. If the quality is not there, if the client's not happy, my job is to keep my client happy. My job is to make my client's life easier. And if by outsourcing and there's delays and there's quality issues or anything else which we haven't had, then I would say, you know what, I'm bringing it in. Even if financially in that sense, it doesn't make 100% sense, but in overall well-being of a client and growth of their company makes sense, then I'll do that, because I look at each client for a long-term relationship. Average client, we've been in business for 20 years. Our majority of our clients have been with us for more than 10 years.
Right.
And we look at each client, each new client who comes in, we don't look at it as what can we sell to them right now and what, how much money we can get from them. The approach is how we can help them build a company that's going to continue to grow over the years, and we'll have a client for the next 10, 20 years. And as they grow, they will need us more and they can afford us more. And so it's a different approach. It's not focused on what do I sell to them, is what do they really need. And sometimes they'll come in and say, I need these 10 things. And I'll say, you know what? Based on the budget that we discussed and everything else, certain constraints you have, you don't need all the 10 things right now. We can start with these 5 things. And then as these get started in the second quarter and third quarter, we can start doing this, and then we can start doing that. And so our thing is, as an attorney and advisor, is how do I help them launch their business? How do I help them grow their business so that they will continue to need me and they'll continue to be able to afford me? But again, like you were saying, I guess it comes to a point where having an in-house counsel will be more efficient, more convenient, and where the amount of work is so much that outsourcing just actually takes longer to go back and forth and do certain things, then yes. Then at that point, we just like we did with immigration, we bring him in. Immigration is something where it's not so cut and dry as trademark or something like that, where once initially you have that in-depth conversation and understand, then it's pretty much you on your own doing the legal stuff. Immigration, people's situations change. They get married, they have kids, they have certain emergencies, and so for us it was challenging dealing with some other firms that are not so sensitive to some of these needs. They're saying, well, they hired us just for this, we're going to do this. They want something else, all right, and we're going to start from scratch. And so to be able to have that flexibility, to be able to understand their needs as they change, and maybe a lot of times anticipate those changes, as things are, I sit down and spend some time initially when we retain a client, understanding who they are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what they do want to and plan on spending time in their work, and what they don't want to touch, and what they see, where they see their company, and everything else. And based on that, now I know how to advise them, and I know we could predict things coming up, and we can anticipate challenges. We can, we keep an eye on, different industries where, we represent, really diverse base of clients from different industries. But, we try to keep, nowadays technology and AI, it's starting to disrupt a lot of industries, and it has been doing for years now. And so making sure that the clients are aware of that and they're keeping track of what's coming. And us helping them is a big part of what we do as well.
All right, got it. Now, in terms of your revenue, you've almost doubled your business now. 2014, you're at 1.6 million. 2018, you hit over 3 million. What were the 3 biggest drivers of your sales growth over those 4 years?
One, I think, and this is something that I don't think is talked about enough, especially in business schools and kind of entrepreneurial circles, is that your personal growth equals your business growth. Your income or your business will grow as much as you do, and your capacity to handle certain things. And in business school, you study essential elements of how to put together a business plan and execute, and team building, and raising finances, and PR and branding, and all that good stuff, right? Except they don't address the actual person who makes these decisions, the entrepreneur. And what beliefs do they have about themselves, about the world, about money, about power, about what's possible, what they're worthy. And so a lot of that stuff, our business is a reflection of who we are and our beliefs. And in fact, I'm writing a book that's going to be out this summer. I'm co-authoring a book with an amazing author, person, Shelley Lefko. She's a co-founder of Lefko Institute in San Francisco. And for the last 30 years, they've been studying beliefs, limiting beliefs, and what holds people back and how to get rid of them. We're basically bringing the entrepreneurship world and this world of personal growth together, because I think that's a big part of it. Your state, your emotional intelligence, your ability to deal with challenges, your ability to deal with failure. These are all things that affect not only you, but your business, your employees, your clients. So I've embarked in the last several years really into and dove into kind of personal growth, looking at what are my limitations and how can I show up better for my clients and for my staff, more importantly, and what do they need and how do I give them the tools? And which brings me to my second reason is my focus has become, instead of working in the business, now I'm working on the business, and I'm working to provide and empower my staff and my employees to do their job rather than try to micromanage and try to be in the mix, and make it okay for them to fail and try new things and give them the support and constructive criticism that they need to grow. And so as I do that and they start focusing on the clients, I see the difference. I see how clients feel a lot better taken care of, and they feel like we care, which we do, about their success, about what they're going through, about their challenges. And so kind of shifting my attention to working on the business and how the business operates rather than being an operator inside the business. Being a business owner rather than business operator has made a big difference as well. And thirdly, while we love and appreciate getting new clients, we have put a lot of effort and resources behind our existing clients, constantly asking both our clients and ourselves, how can we do better? How can we support them more? How can we make their company grow? And how can we give them the information, the tools, the services they need? Sometimes they don't even need, they know they need. And sometimes they think they need one thing and they need something else. And so, investing that time, a lot of trainees, it's, every little phone call, every little email, and they charge the client that they send an invoice. And so the clients are afraid to communicate with the attorneys, thinking, okay, the meter starts running and I'm going to get a bill at the end of the month or at the end of the year. That's, it's going to be a big surprise. And so then they just limit their communication to, hey, real quick, I just need this. And then they hang up the phone. I don't want that relationship with my client. I want them to feel, be able to and feel like they could sit down and really talk to me about the challenges and their vision and their mission and why are they doing it and what they're doing it. And so spending an hour or two out of my time that doesn't directly gets billed to the client. For some attorneys, that's a waste of time. For me, that's investing in my client, because now I have a better understanding of what they need and I can do my job better, which means they'll be happier, which means they will not go anywhere else. And the secret is, if you give them more than what you're charging them for, give them more value, then it just makes them make it not make sense for them to go anywhere else. Instead of trying to replace them with constantly replacing them with new clients. And so I think focusing on value, focusing on the client as far as constant improvement of there are attorneys who, as soon as they sign up a client, they're done with that client. They just goes into the system and now they're focused on what's my next new client. For us is, okay, we signed up this client. Now let's see what they need. Let's see, and it's not just the first initial interview. It's, whether it's quarterly, depending on how quickly the companies change and grow, or once a year, we sit down and say, okay, this is what we've gotten, and what's the plan for next year? Where are we going? And what do we want to do? Let us know so we can be prepared and can give you kind of heads up. Sometimes our clients going into negotiations, instead of going in and negotiating a deal and then bringing it to us, saying, okay, I need a contract for this deal, and then I look at it and say, well, this is not exactly a really good deal for you because of A, B, and C. They're like, oh man, yeah, you're right. Now I have to go renegotiate. Instead of that, a lot of them say, why don't you come in and sit in the negotiations, or listen in, or be part of the email trail going back and forth, or just take over and negotiate, you know what I need. And so it becomes a lot more productive, things move a lot quicker, and clients end up getting better deals and better results because of that.
Right. Now, can you share a little bit about how you let your clients know that you like to have a conversation with them for an hour or two, and it's not going to be a billable event for them? How do you express that to them, given how most people are as you say, they know that any communication with you is a billable event? Not
Sure.
with you, but lawyers in general.
Right. So initially, I offer them between 20 to 30-minute free initial consultation. So before taking any money from them, I want to really understand where they are, what they need, if this is a good fit. Because just as much as they're interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. If I don't think I can help them, if they have a certain kind of style or attitude of doing business and certain mindset, I may not want to be part of that. Not because they're not going to succeed or they're bad. It's just because I'm not going to provide maximum service as I would if it was a different client. And so this is kind of an initial kind of let's get to know each other phase where I ask a lot of questions, I answer a lot of questions, and very often that 20 or 30 minutes might go into 40 minutes if I feel like, okay, this is a potential client that we want to work with, and if I feel like the feeling is mutual, we'll sit there, and it's not rare that meeting could go into an hour. And then as we understand that, we set up another call or a meeting to really understand the specific things they need so that we can put together a proposal. So before we start any work, before we start charging them, before the kind of meter starts running, I want to understand what they need. And I want to make a list of what services I suggest we provide to them and what the costs are, what the time frames are, put it in writing, send it to them for them to have time to review. If they have partners, they have spouses, they have investors, to make sure that this is not a pressure. A lot of times there's pressure tactics of if you want it, do it, or I'm not going to give you any information. And I'll tell you, a lot of times during those initial interviews, free consultations, I give them a lot of value. I'll give them some of my insight. I'll give them some of my advice, whether they retain me or not. Because at the end of the day, my mission is to help entrepreneurs succeed. I think it's good for economy. They create jobs. Everything gets reinvested in the economy, and we all benefit from it. Especially if it's a conscientious entrepreneur or a venture that I represent a lot of those. And so I'm passionate about it, and so I love what I do. It's not really a job because I find myself at parties or receptions, all of a sudden, 30 minutes into a whole deep conversation about somebody's business. I was at the Inc. 5000 at a table and found myself, both sides of me were two entrepreneurs, and probably about 20 minutes with one and 30 minutes with the other, really getting into it, really understanding what they're going through, their challenges. For me, it's fascinating. Each entrepreneur's journey is unique and different. And just seeing what they have to overcome and what they have to do to, get to the level of success is just, both inspiring and for me it's informative because, I learn a lot from each and every one of my clients, and I always ask, how can I learn more and how can I apply that to my clients?
Sure. How about for your ongoing relationships? Because you mentioned earlier how you didn't want to have a relationship where your clients felt like they couldn't ask you a question, or they were discouraged from asking a question because they would feel that they're going to be billed for it in 6-minute increments, right?
Right, right. So,
how do they know that they can reach out to you and, just for you to say hello, it's not going to cost them $50.
Right. So, for example, I got a call from an existing client who's doing pretty well, and she tells me, do you do franchising? And I said, yes, we do franchising. And I said, she said, okay, I want to franchise my concept, and so can you give me a price, and can you can you kind of send me a proposal and can we get started on the paperwork? And I said, listen, I want to understand a little better what you want to do and what your vision is. Why don't we sit down, whether it's over the phone or in person, for about 30 minutes. And I want to really understand exactly what you're trying to accomplish. I told her that there's no charge for that. And it's just part of understanding, what her needs are. After about a 45-minute conversation, what turned out to be, she didn't need franchising. What she meant is licensing. She wanted to license some of her stuff. And so it's a whole different process. It's a lot less expensive, a lot less involved, and we do a lot of those. And so now we're working on a licensing deal for them. And through that conversation, a few other things came up that before actually licensing, we needed to address. And so, again, more business came out of it from me. As well, because I said, look, because before you do this, you need to take care of this and this and this. But this is stuff that they needed. But at the end of the day, they saved a lot more money because me starting on a franchising paperwork and doing all that stuff. And then later on, as they get the paperwork, finding out, okay, well, it's not really exactly what I wanted to do or need, or start doing something that they didn't mean to do. It becomes a lot more costly and for me to fix later. And so I would fairly openly welcome a conversation. So when they contact me for something, I said, look, I need to understand a little better. And so can you answer a few questions? Or, whether if I feel like it's something we could do right there and then I say, if you have 15, 20 minutes, I want to ask a few questions and get a better understanding of the situation. Or if I feel like it's a little bit of more involved and I or they don't have the time, then say, can we set up a follow-up meeting or a call? I need to get more information before I can give you a quote or before I can actually tell you what exactly you need from the legal perspective.
Okay.
And
so it's more of a case-by-case basis. It's not like
yes.
Offer an hour or two each month for clients and they know that they have questions for a free consult, you're available.
No, but it was for some clients, it ends up being about that where they'll call for 10, 15 minutes. They'll ask, hey, I'm doing this. Do I need this? Or I'm going to bring in a new person. Can I use this former agreement? Or can we, this is going to be different. Or, and so they'll call for a quick question that might sometimes get into a longer response or not. And then I have some clients who pay me a monthly retainer, in which case they're free to call me as much as they want and ask me as many questions as they want. And they need me to be more involved, especially clients who are international or from overseas who don't know employment law or they don't know tax matters or other regulations, permits and certain paperwork and requirements of banking and everything else, where they need constant direction. For me to do an hourly service for them, it ends up being overly expensive. So right. I tell them, look, for me to do all of this, it's going to be cost prohibitive for you. At the same time, it needs to be done. It needs to be addressed. And short of you dealing with CPA, a bookkeeper, a tax attorney, IP attorney, corporate attorney, immigration, I could do it. And we come up with some kind of a lump sum kind of fee, monthly fee. And it's month to month, and at any point they can walk away. And we estimate, let's say, if we're estimating I'm going to spend about 20 hours a month or 10 hours a month from them because they're basically buying my hours bulk and upfront, I'll give them a discount.
Right.
And then, if it goes a little over an hour or two, as a rule, I don't go up and say, we spend extra 2 hours from what we anticipated, because usually it just kind of balances out.
Yeah. Okay.
And sometimes their needs increase where they say, hey, we're opening a second location, and say, okay, let's, for the next 3 months, let's up the hours a little bit because it's going to need a lot more of my work. Or once we set things up already, I'll approach them and say, look, I think you're kind of set for now, maybe short of a couple of hours a month of kind of just upkeep. I don't think you need 10 hours from me anymore. And so then
right.
we'll adjust that.
Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about 2019. Say we were having this discussion 1 year from today, and you're looking back over the past 1 year. What has to have happened in your business, and perhaps personally for you, because you talk about one of the drivers is your own personal growth, for you to be happy with your company's progress and your own personal progress in the areas of the problems that you have now that you need to eliminate and the opportunities that you see that need to be captured, as well as the strengths that you have that you like to maximize?
Sure. As mentioned before, one of my main passions is to empower and help entrepreneurs. As I do that in my practice on one-on-one basis, in the past few years, I began to do some public speaking and be part of different programs and seminars like Business Freedom Experience and Business Freedom Speaking Academy and a few others, where I try to do that on a bigger scale where, from stage, where I could share some of my advice and experiences with a bigger audience and hence impacting more people. It helps the business, of course, because you get your brand out there and you deliver value to people. So you develop trust and they learn about you and they learn about how you work and your principles and your values. And but at the same time, when I go out and speak, last year I went on a European speaking tour of about 6 cities over about a month and a half. From universities to entrepreneur groups, just talking about, conscious or mindful entrepreneurship, about, personal growth and entrepreneurship, about, certain things of, how to set up a company in US, from Cambridge University Business School to American University in Yerevan and Mind Valley University in Tallinn last year. So, I would like to do more of that, more of those speaking opportunities and possibly teaching. I was offered a teaching position as well. It's just, again, it's overseas for business school. I'd like to do that here so that I could continue to provide and serve my clients as well locally. And as my book comes out, which hopefully will also help entrepreneurs, I am hoping that 2019 will be me kind of getting the word out there and getting my brand out there and promoting the book and helping my clients grow and get to the next level. We're living in an amazing and exciting times where everything's going so exponentially, from technology to everything, and things get disrupted and things change constantly. And so from day to day, and so keeping up with my business and what's coming up in my business. Artificial intelligence is really disrupting every industry, including legal industry. They have now certain programs, AI programs, that review contracts and give suggestions. And so again, these are technical things, and where we pride ourselves and where our strengths are our personal relationships with our clients, our personal touch of understanding what their situation is, what their family is, knowing that, they just got married or they're about to have a kid. How's that going to impact their time commitments and their work? Do they need to hire somebody else? Bringing up those discussions. And, as they're, expanding, and I'm negotiating contracts for them to open a location overseas or doing certain things. And then they're expecting baby, having those conversations saying, hey, have you addressed this with your spouse? How are you gonna manage it? Do we need to come up with, do we need to address hiring internationally as well? Or are you gonna have one of your staff members overseas? And so these are things that, technology and AI doesn't do. And so focusing on kind of that, delivering that X factor, that, going that extra step, caring. I look at myself as a silent, non-shareholder partner in their business. And if that was part of my business, how would I do it? And what do I do? And so I would like to see my clients succeed, obviously, and grow as they have been in the past several years, really quickly and efficiently. And I don't take credit for that. I'm just there, along the, for a ride and just making sure that it continues. And as far as for my firm as well, understanding what the needs of our staff is. We were voted, our growth, with Inc. 5000 didn't come just from growth. My staff is what drives my growth. My employees are my company. There's no company without them. And so, in the last few years, we've implemented certain things like, we invest in their personal growth. We have a book club. We buy whatever books they want to read, and we, seminars, and we have Spanish classes. On Wednesdays, we hired a private tutor that comes in on Wednesday afternoons, and they can take an hour and study. As we're moving now to new locations, we're setting up a meditation room, a room where they can, go out and stretch and kind of, get their energy and state up as well. We, healthy snacks. We have a whole charity. Charity is a big part of both me personally, and it's a big part of the fabric of our law firm. We donate and constantly out there doing stuff, mostly children's rights, which is where I'm passionate about. I've gone to Nicaragua and spent a week in a jungle building homes, and Guatemala building wells and schools, and Cambodia dealing with issues of child labor and sex trafficking, and Armenia and Russia with orphanages. And our employees are involved in that as well. They pick a kid, each one, to sponsor. We pay for it. They are pen pals with them, because I think that's important for them to feel like there's more to life than just work and the office. We have this thing that we learned from Mind Valley, also a great organization that I've been active with, where we share our passions and goals of what we want to do in the next, near future, and as a life goal. And as we learn about each other, we try to support each other. Somebody wants to, go visit Italy next year, for their birthday. We'll buy them Italian dictionary or a tour book or whatever. Just kind of, little things to show that, to build that team and to know that there's, we care and have them care for each other outside of just immediate office and work. Our office culture is very important. And when we hire, as we grow, I don't hire on skill, because especially with the way things are changing day to day, skills, what skills you need today, you may not need next year. And it's, how quickly can you learn those skills? And also, more importantly, do you fit into our culture? What's your mindset? And what's your attitude and everything else? That's more important for me. Skills I can teach, and skills, they'll vary, and they may switch positions. And, we constantly push our employees to grow to the next level. I've had to lose 3 employees because they're in law school, or they're studying to become a lawyer, and they're planning on coming back to me. But I want them to do better and be out there, even if it means losing them temporarily or forever. And so they appreciate, and they know that, and so that's part of it. And that's one of the reasons we were voted by Los Angeles Business Journal as top 25 best companies to work for in Los Angeles.
Fantastic. Hey, Ivan, let me ask you a different question, switching gears a little bit.
Sure.
From you talked before about how you're not focused so much on getting new clients. Of course, you would like more clients.
Of course.
But on that end, what do you think about pay-per-click ads and SEO? I saw from your online presence that you're, as far as I can tell, you're not running that much, or not running any pay-per-click ads right now, as far as I can tell. And it doesn't sound like you've invested a lot on the SEO side of things either. So what's your take on that?
My approach, and it doesn't necessarily mean that's the right approach. It's just the approach that's worked for me, based on the growth, as you could see. I haven't been doing pay-per-click. I haven't been doing SEO. I've been focusing on, initially when I first started, there were no, I've been around for 20 years now. And so there was no internet, and there was no pay-per-click advertisement or Google. And so it was more word of mouth, and it was more of, kind of building your clients one by one. And as my clients have grown, and as my clients have succeeded, the whole adage of not have clients but have fans. And as I over-deliver to them, as I give them the quality services and value that I deliver, on the average, each client refers me at least 2 to 3 clients in the first couple of years of becoming a client. And so having clients or not having clients hasn't been, knock on wood, a big challenge for us. And I understand there's different ways, and for a very short time we did engage in pay-per-click, and it's a different animal, because when the client comes into me that has been referred to me by an existing client who's been with me for a year or 10 years, and who has recommended me and has said, this guy's been taking care of me for the last whatever years, and you got to go see him or whatever. This guy comes in with a different mindset rather than somebody who just found me on internet and kind of is apprehensive and is like, am I gonna retain this guy? Am I not gonna? Is he gonna try to screw me? Is he gonna recharge me? Somebody comes in and says, hey, you help this person, you help that person. How can you help me? And it's a different discussion. It's now I'm not focused on retaining him. I'm focused on how can I help him? And it kind of sets our relationship with a different dynamic. And so that's worked for me. I know that doesn't work for everybody. And there's companies who rely on pay-per-click, justifiably so, and grow hugely based on that, and including law firms. They invest a lot of money and they grow on that. For me, especially for my business clients, it's been because these are long-term relationships, and I cultivate them and I invest in them. And most of my business clients, they call me as a friend. A lot of them have my cell number, and they'll call me. I injured my knee, and I got probably more calls and text messages, follow-ups from my clients than from my friends. Hey, how you doing? How's it going? What can I do? What can I? It feels nice, and so it's that's my focus. That's where, because I don't want to be taking on 10 or 100 or 200 calls a week or a month of people kind of calling in, just kind of saying who are you, and are you going to do this, are you going to do that. I'd rather spend that time on somebody who's been referred to me, who comes in with already a certain level of trust, kind of just come to check it out. And that's worked for me so far. Again, sometimes when you only rely on word of mouth, it's a double-edged sword, because it's hard to control the growth and scaling, because if you're doing pay-per-click, and your ratios and your conversion rates, and you're spending $10 and you're getting this much, and you can spend $20, you can get this much, and all that stuff. It's easier to kind of build your business up that way. For me, it has from very early on gone to a point where I have more than enough. Again, I've moved offices several times, and I'm now outgrown. I've been in this location for 5 years, and within this 5 years, I took over. I had a film company space on the 3rd floor, and my law firm was on the 2nd floor. In the last 5 years, I kicked myself out as a film company from the 3rd floor, and my law firm take over the 3rd floor. And now I'm looking by September to move to a new space, because we've grown. And so as we grow, we obviously hire new people and hire new specialists and grow that way. But growth hasn't been a challenge. I think for me, it's figuring out exactly as clients change, the nature changes, the industries change, and so they face certain different challenges as with technology and everything else. And for me, the challenge is how does that affect my services to them and their needs from me. And but yeah, you're right. I'm not huge on pay-per-click or SEO, and that doesn't mean next year or 5 years from now I won't be if I stop getting referrals. But so far so good. You know, I constantly ask, you know, my growth-oriented clients, once a year I sit down with them and we talk about growth. We talk about where you want to be, and it's interesting because, you know, just talking about personal growth and limiting beliefs and mindset, you know, some of them would say, well, yeah, I'd love to, but, you know, I can't do it, you know. And then when you start talking about, like, well, why can't you do it? And, well, because of A, B, and C. And then when we address those, I go, well, this could be done this way and this way. Oh, maybe I could do it. And then, look, all of a sudden, instead of getting one new client, within my client, it's as good as getting a new client, because now we're talking about expansion and new locations and new staff and a whole new you know, file to work on. And so, yeah, that's been the path so far. And I have a lot of colleagues who swear by pay-per-click, and it works for them as well. It
Right.
just for me, I you know, this has been my path so far.
Yeah, well, if you're getting enough leads and
Right.
from your referrals to grow at the rate that you're
Right.
happy with, then there's no need to add more to the mix.
Right.
3 last questions for you, Vahan.
Of course.
So say you decide to have a billboard along, I'm not sure which freeway you would have it on, because in the LA area they don't kind of move stuff. But say they're, you know, in the dead of night when traffic is moving, you had a billboard showing. People generally have 6 seconds to see your billboard as they drive by. What is your 6-second billboard message?
Oh, interesting. Good question. You know, I think a lot of attorneys make a mistake of trying to sell themselves rather than focusing on the client's needs, and what their pain points are and how we could solve their problem, rather than, you know, I'm this and that and I've been around for 20 years, I've won this award and that award. It's, you know, one, I think, to communicate that they matter, that each client matters, and that we could solve their problems. So if it's, you know, depending on what type of you know, area of law I want to advocate, let's say if it's a business, you know, it's you know, maybe address that we're it's a good one. I don't know if I can come up with a phrase, but I think it would have to be an approach that lets the client know that they're our focus, and whatever the pain point is, we address that and address solution rather than sell a service.
Right. So maybe your billboard is solutions, not service.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, like, you know, legal solutions for, you know, entrepreneur, and, you know, and something that, you know, also mentions that you know, they matter, and each one of them matter, because, you know, a lot of times these clients come in and you know, we get sometimes clients from other attorneys where they feel like, one, there's not enough communication, and second, they feel like they're just a number, a file. And that's terrible, because that's the last thing you want your client to feel like. You know, each one is a person and has a family and has employees and challenges and dreams, and more you understand that, better service provider you'll be, whether it's legal or tax or anything. Right.
You're not just a file.
You're not just a file.
You're not just a file at Vahan Yepremyan.
There you go. There you go.
Or something like that.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Last 2 questions. Who are your ideal clients, and what's the best way for them to contact your company?
My ideal client is an entrepreneur or a business person, whether it's they're at the start of their business entrepreneurial journey, where they're about to buy or launch their initial business and they have no idea about how to start it. We'll walk them through each step, hold their hands, and walk through their initial kind of process and help them navigate it. And then as well as businesses who have been around, who are now focusing on growth and scaling, which is another strength of ours of how do we, is this through licensing? Is it through more locations? Is it through more sales? Is it through going international? Is it going national? And so ideal client is an entrepreneur who needs one kind of initial full spectrum services, as well as somebody who has started a company but needs help kind of getting to the next level. And how do I get to the next level? Do I, I need to get an investor, or do I, I get a partner, or do I, do I buy and merge another business? Do I, and so, we'll sit down and give them the, different options. And then as they start finding them, we also provide due diligence. Let's say if you want to buy a business, we'll do the due diligence for them. And we'll bring in a tax and finance consultant as well, and we'll do the background checks and paperwork and contracts and legal and tax and everything else, so they know what they're getting into.
Okay. And what's the best way for them to contact you and your team?
Email, phone number. We've through website. We're actually redoing our website, so there's kind of a temporary placeholder website there that I'm not crazy about, but within the next couple of weeks we'll have our new website up. It's our marketing team is working on it, but email or phone call, and I'll personally talk to them initially. They're not going to be talking or dealing with my paralegals or assistants, because I want to understand who they are and what they need before they waste time or my staff kind of setting up appointments and everything else. Like, okay, this is what you need. Yes, I think we can help you, and then we'll set up an initial free consultation, as I mentioned, whether it's over the phone or in person. And we'll also do free review of their documentation. A lot of clients already have a corporation or an LLC that they've set up online or through a bookkeeper or something, but doesn't have all the required documentation, all the required filings, all the required things in there. So they'll come in and we encourage them. So when you come in a free consultation, you get a free analysis of your corporate book, and we'll tell you what's missing. Whether no obligation to have us do it, but at least you'll know that these things are missing. And so it's informational, it's educational for them, and then hopefully there is enough connection and trust built that want to stay with us and have us help them with the process.
So what is your web address?
So it's www.vylawfirm.com. So V as in Victor, Y as in yellow, LAWFIRM.com.
And if someone wants to email you, what email address should they use?
They can email me directly at Vahan, VAHAN, at vylawfirm.com.
All right. And lastly, you mentioned they can call you as well. So what number should they dial?
They can call at 818-574-5544.
All right. Awesome. Vahan, it's been awesome having you on my show today. I really enjoyed hearing how you...
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of get my message out there.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed hearing how you grew your business so fast as well.
Thank you, Malcolm.
We've been speaking with Vahan Yepremyan, the managing partner at the Yepremyan Law Firm, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.